So we're back, and during the break, had a chance to talk to some of you guys, and a lot of you commented on the system and the feeling that you had, which is good because you're excited about it. And somebody asked me a question, and they're like, well, you know, how do I get to the point where maybe my upline is needing more of me to teach them than what they're learning right now? And actually, that brings me back to how I started, because when I started this business, my upline was not as aggressive or as serious in my eyes about building the business as I was. And so she had her own faults, or she had her ways of doing things. And here's what happens in most people's situations, okay? Most people, when they're in that position, what they end up doing is they get upset, or they get disappointed, or they're like, whatever. They just can't click with the upline, and so they end up slowing themselves down, and they allow that to get in the way of their own capability or in their own potential of building this business. And so what ended up happening with me is when I saw that, I did the opposite. So in my perspective, here's how I think of things, okay? Actually, I was asked this during the lunch about my perspective when it comes to what I'm capable of. They said, has there been a time in your life or in your career where you were afraid of doing something? And if so, how did you overcome it? And my response to them was, I'm not afraid of much of anything, and I'm only afraid of two things. So no. And I said, what two things? And the two things that I'm afraid of are the dark and insects. Okay? Aside from that, I have no fear. In my way of thinking, whatever I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it really well. And in my way of thinking, I can do anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Because when you have that way of thinking, in your perspective, you're willing to learn and do whatever it takes to accomplish. Okay? So it didn't matter to me how good the person above me was. It doesn't make a difference. It didn't matter to me whether I can only learn a little bit from them or a lot. In my mind, I was going to do whatever it takes, and I will learn as much as I can. And by the way, even though in my eyes I felt I was more intelligent, or I was more serious, or I was more aggressive, I never disrespected my upline. I used whatever skills I could learn from them, and then I went, applied it, and I added to it. I developed myself. I grew myself. And I never once blamed them for anything, because in my way of doing things, I'm always responsible. Always. 100% of the time. I never have once blamed my government. I never have once blamed my upline. And I never have once blamed the product or blamed the company. And by the way, the company I was in almost had no product. Had no product, actually, when I first signed up. They were selling usernames. A lot of you know the story. No product. No compensation plan, essentially. A one-way payout. One left, one right, check, and that's it. No first order bonus, no nothing. But I never once blamed anything. I said, you give me the chance and I will do the rest. That is my way of thinking. So when it comes to the point where, let's just say you're in here right now and your upline is not, it's okay. Your upline doesn't have to be master business builder for you to do well. You can become the master business builder and become the power leg. You remember what I said to my upline? I said, because I'm under you, with me under you, you will never have to worry about volume ever again. And not only did I become the power leg for my upline, for my upline's upline, for my upline leader, for that upline's leader, I became the power leg for the whole company. And that's how that way of thinking helps you to build your business. So it doesn't matter the person on top and how they are and how maybe they're just a different kind of aggressive than you. You use what you can and you take it and run. And you build with that. And if you have this concept built into your way of doing, all of a sudden you become super, super powerful, because not only do you leverage your own capability, but you're leveraging your upline's own potential. And you can build this business that way. So, forgot what I was saying. Oh, somebody asked me that question, right? That's one of the easiest ways to build this business, and the reason why you can build this business as big as you want it to be. And so as I go over these tactics with you and these techniques with you, these were all learned and developed from me going through the motions. And earlier we started talking about goals, right? And with goals, it works the same exact way. Now, in my career, I learned how to set 3 goals every single time. And I think a lot of people don't understand the value or the importance of goals. And it kind of works like this. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? If you don't know the direction you need to head in, you're stuck. That's it. That's the end of the game. You have no way of progression. So what goals do is they allow you to set a standard by which you are going to execute. So you say, hey, if somebody came up to me and they're like, I'm going to go, forget 1 star, I'm going to go 3 star. Right, I did? I'm going to go 3 star. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Hey, that's the beginning. Once the mind is exposed to an idea, it can never regress, it can never go backwards. It is there for life. Everything starts to change. And the way the brain works, it works with something called synapses. You guys know what synapses are? Okay, let me explain to you how synapses work. When you first do something, your synapses that are used to do that something are not formed yet. So it requires extra energy, extra brain juice, if you will, to form the synapses. Now, the more you do those things, what happens is these synapses form and they start to come together. And the more you do it, the more they come together. And the closer they come together, the less energy is required to execute that action. And if you get it to a point where you're doing it so much, so often, they get so close together, it no longer requires external effort to execute the action. They're just constantly creating energy and firing and firing. And everywhere you go, it's just constantly happening over and over and over and over and over again. That's how the brain works. It's amazing how our brains are wired. And people don't realize that. And because they don't know this, they don't think about this, they don't position themselves for success. They don't allow themselves to create the right connections up here. Until you come to an event like this, and in this event, I start painting the picture. And I'm talking about this example and that example and going here and doing this. And your brain all of a sudden has 10 new synapses, just like, right? That's what happens. That's why events are so powerful in team building. The effect of an event, and a properly done event, with someone who's taken the time to learn the things, to expose the mind to these new ideas, is life-changing. So at the break, I forget who was talking to me. I think it was Gonzalo. And he comes up to me, he goes, oh man, I just want to tell you, from the Costa Rica trip, Elia's entire business has changed. I say, yeah? He goes, you remember when you did the invite training at the Costa Rica event? And here's what happened, okay? We're sitting down, we're having lunch, we're having a good time, right? And they're asking me questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? Da, 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 da. And then one of them goes, so the problem, and by the way, there's a lot of people in here that know how to build a business, right? But one of them goes, one of my issues I'm having struggles with is when I invite people, they're like, "Oh, is this like an Herbalife thing?" Or I'm not interested in doing business, or they'll say something like that, and I'm like, "On an invite?" So I say, "Okay, stop. Invite me." And the first person goes, and she's like doing her invite, and my face is like, I was like, just kill myself. Just kill myself. I was like, you built a team doing that? Wow. Wow. I said, I don't know how you even got to this trip doing that kind of invite. That's an achievement. That's like, you're so good to be able to qualify to Costa Rica with that kind of an invite. That's like the kind of invite whole companies die with. Like, I've seen people kill their entire company because they do this kind of invitation. And you got to Costa Rica? Wow, this is crazy. So, anyways, long story short, I guess I did train a little bit on inviting. Because they said, well, how would you invite? So I gave them my example of an invite. So he comes up to me during break. He goes, yeah, I just want to let you know, Elia's invite is completely different. Ever since Costa Rica, every event, call, presentation, she's had a guest. Never seen that before. You understanding how to do the basics is literally life-changing. It's business-changing. Because the business is very, very simple. All you got to do is learn the right things. And so that's why I say, if you have an upline, maybe they don't know everything, but if you can learn some of the right things and apply it, you're going to build a big business. And that's why I tell you, get your team to the next event. Get your team to a trip with me. I can guarantee you, there are people that come into this kind of event, this kind of a training, and they come as completely one person and they leave completely different. And you look at them like, what happened to you? How? In 3-4 hours? How? How did this flip-flop happen? That's what this event is designed for. That's why it's titled Aspire. It's to expose the mind to these ideas and create the synapses that allows you to achieve success. Now, what I just did for you is I built immense value in you bringing your people and your team to an event like this. True or not true? Because if you can have your team and attend an event like this with you, and they can learn the things that you're learning, and they can gain mastery of these skills, how fast would your team grow? Right? Goal setting allows you to do that. First goal I would set is, how many people am I going to bring to the next event? I set myself different types of goals every week when I was building my business. Okay? When I was building my team in the beginning, I would set how many calls I want to make, how many invites I want to have scheduled, how many prospects I want to have show up to a business presentation, how many people I want to enroll every single week. And I would make sure I hit those goals. And as a matter of fact, in the beginning, I talked about the basic default steps of activity, right? Invite, market invite, right? In the invite part, when I would do invitations, I would take my notebook and pen, and I would draw down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I would put a Starburst next to number 5, orange flavor. And Starburst number 10, orange flavor. Because those are my favorite flavors of Starburst candy. You guys know the candy, the chewy candy? And I would not allow myself to eat it until I got 5 scheduled. And those are the types of things that I would do to set my goals when I was just starting out. Because I set the goal, I hit the goal, I win, I reward myself. And you want to be able to do that. And then you start setting bigger goals. Bigger goals like, buying for ladies, if you like purses. Anybody like purses? Bags, right? Louis Vuitton and those kinds of things, right? Okay. If you want those kinds of things, then you can start setting team size goals. Men, you like cars, right? Nice cars. Trucks, whatever it is. Yeah, she likes both, okay? She got excited. Dámelo, right? You can start setting car buying goals, truck buying goals. That's how I got all my cars. I've had every exotic car except for Bugatti. And I just don't like the Bugatti. It looks like a cockroach to me. How? You set goals. You can achieve those goals. And you start small. It doesn't have to be big. If you're like, I don't know what goal, let's just set an invitation goal. When I was building my business and I was doing my invites, I was doing 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, even 100 calls per day. How many calls do you make? How many presentations do you do? Now, let's just say you're working full-time and you don't have a lot of time. It's okay. Start with something. 10 calls per day, 20 calls per day, 10 invites per day, 20 invites, whatever it is. And start with that. Set your goals. When you start getting to bigger goals, must do, should do, could do. So you set 3 goals. Because as a could do, if everything goes perfectly, and life's great, no mistakes, no whatever. You push, you stretch, and everything goes and flows your way. That's what you're going to do. Should do is, something's happened here and there, but you're still going to stretch and reach that goal. Must do is the absolute minimum that I must have happen in this coming week or at this setting or whatever it is. It sets you up to win. Once you set goals, focus on the network. And a good starting point for making calls is 50. Now, that could be 50 per day or 50 per week, whatever. You pick the time frame. Remember, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to show you how I did what I did and how you can do it too. Because numbers don't lie. And numbers is the truth of the universe. No matter what language you speak, numbers is the truth. And numbers show you how fast you're going to get to the level of achievement that you want to experience in your business. So if you say, well, I want to get to 3-star, you can take the numbers required for that, utilizing ratios, and you can actually plan it down to the day what you need to do on a daily basis to actually reach 3 stars. Ideas like, oh, yeah, numbers. Look like a maniac right now. I like it. That's how it's got to be. You set yourself on fire and people from miles around will come to watch you burn. And you set yourself on fire because you master these basics. Now, the invite, really, really simple. There's a couple of different ways to invite. Okay? But the first rule is say less to get more. Say less to get more. And if you're inviting somebody who's a network marketer or has been in network marketing, has done network marketing, there's one way to talk to them. If you're talking to somebody who's never done network marketing before and they're the first time that they're here looking at the business and you want them to look at the business, it's another way to invite them. So everyone has a specific type of invitation. And you know only best on what type of invite to use with them. But no matter which type of invite, there are still a few key things that must be present in the invitation. First rule is don't sell on the phone. The purpose of an invitation is to create curiosity, to create interest. That's it. You're just a commercial to the idea of something without any detail. No products, no pitching. No one wants to be sold on the phone. We are a face-to-face business. And your whole purpose of an invite is to see whether they are going to be a potential leader in your business or in your team or not. That's it. So I keep it really, really simple. Say ring, ring. hello. Hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué te pica? Whatever. Whatever you say to your friends. I was at the airport and I was walking to board my plane, and there's a bunch of Mexicans everywhere. They're like everywhere, waiting to board the plane. And I heard this guy on this phone, and he calls his friend, and like, "Órale, wey!" And I'm like, "Oh, I think he meant say, hey, what's up, fool?" Right? That's how you talk to your friends. Whatever you normally talk to your friends with, do that. And they say, "Hey, what's going on?" Hey, listen, something big is happening. I don't have a lot of time. The reason I'm calling is because while it may or may not be for you, I wanted to talk to you before it was too late. Okay, I'm giving you the basic idea. Okay, you don't have to repeat it exactly as I'm saying it. But I just recently started working on this huge project. As a matter of fact, it's a project that's coming from the US to Mexico. And in our area, there's a big potential for it. Like I said, or may not be for you, but I wanted to talk to you about it before it got too late because things are getting crazy. Are you free tomorrow at 2? Or how about Thursday at 6 for about 20 minutes for us to get some coffee before it's too late? And let them choose. Notice, I didn't say anything about network marketing. I didn't say anything about product. I didn't say anything about detox. I didn't say anything about your left, your right, binary, bingo, 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 right? Nothing. All I said, something big. Let's talk before it's too late. Are you free? Let's go. Now, they might ask questions. What is it about? Man, I'd love to tell you. I'd love to tell you right now. Unfortunately, I have another 50 calls to make. And I really don't have a lot of time. The only reason I'm calling you first is because I don't want 6 months to go by and then you hear about it from somebody else. And then you come back to me and you're mad at me for not telling you about it first. And you're my friend, that's why I'm calling you first. Right? Simple invitation. Now they come, they show up, they sit down, and you're like, hey, thank you for taking the time. And you start doing the presentation. But that's the invite. That's it. Nothing else. I said nothing about buying products, no enrollment, no nothing. It's just like, are we getting together or not? Now, because I said it in this way, here's what happens. I say, hey, something big is happening. Your mind goes, big. Subconscious, okay? The psychology. I'm going to explain to you the psychology. Something big is happening. Oh, subconsciously, you're like, hey, what's that? Right? I say, it might or may not be for you. Ooh, why wouldn't it be for me? Subconsciously, logically, psychologically, this is what you're thinking. He said, but I wanted to talk to you about it before it's too late. Too late? What? There's an emergency now. Right? Psychologically, you're like, yeah, let's not waste time. Now you're even more curious. What is it that you're talking to me about? True or not true? And then I say, well, how about tomorrow for 20 minutes or Thursday? And I set the time between 24 to 48 hours. No later than 48 hours after. I never schedule something past 48 hours. Because they're going to forget about it. So what happens with me is I make a phone call. It's about 3 minutes from catching up to seeing how things are going, what's going on, right? 3 minutes. And how many calls can I make in 2 hours doing that? At least 20 per hour, right? So now you see how I can make 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 calls in one day. Because I spend 2 to 3 hours making those phone calls. And now I make 50, 60, 70 calls. And I have 15, 20, 25, 30 presentations set up for the next 48 hours. Guess what's about to happen? I'm going to open my book during the presentation and say, look, you're here right now. After you, I have this person, all these people. I called you first because as all these people are going to come in and get started, you're going to begin in the beginning. That's what I will do at the end of my presentation. I say, so, do you have any questions or are you just ready to get started? Because these people got to end up under somebody. Either you're going to be on top of them or you're going to be under all of these people. And I just showed you what happens 2, 4, 8, 16, right? In the presentation. Guess what my friend does? Okay, I don't know what's going on, but here, let me sign up. The presentation does the explanation. Let the presentation do that, not the invitation. So now, if I was you and I'm sitting in these seats and I just heard 2 examples of how to invite, and I heard Elia has had a guest every single call since Costa Rica, I would go to Elia and be like, mira, enséñame. That's what I used to do as a distributor. I didn't care who it was. If I saw you were good at something, whether you were my upline or not, I would say, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? I just have a few questions. And I would copy your system. And I would learn everything you know. All the good stuff. I would do exactly that. And I will come back and I will kick your ass with your own information. Because I will outwork you. What type of thinking are you going to have as you are building your business? Now, that's how I do the invite. When you present the information, one-on-one, two-on-one event, real simple. If it's an event like this, actually, I don't think we have a lot of time. Yeah, let me just go over it. I'm going to go over it real quick. If it's an event, a one-on-one, or whatever it is, the interaction sets the whole thing up. So what I do is in an event like today, the seats are positioned side by side, right? So let's just say, because I was inviting a lot of people, I would usually have 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, sometimes 15, sometimes 20 guests just on my own show up to an event. And everybody else in the company is like, how did you get so many invites? That's what they would say to me. How did you get so many invites? So I'll teach them my thing. But I know they're not going to work as hard as I am. They're not going to sit there and make 50 calls, 60 calls, 80 calls in one day. They're going to do that over 2 weeks. I'm doing it in one day. So they're not going to get the same results that I am going to get, right? But when they come to an event and they see all my guests, because I've taken the time to show them how I do what I do, I say to them, hey, by the way, I know you probably have your own guests. In the case that your guests don't show up, do you think I can introduce you to some of mine so that by the end of the presentation, you think you would be able to help me at least take care of them while I'm enrolling some of my other ones? I do that with everybody. So now I get everybody else in the room who didn't invite the way I invited to help me build my team. Uplines, sidelines, downlines, doesn't matter. I get everybody involved. So all of a sudden, at the end of the event, we are sitting in the event, rep, guest, and I sit as the rep in the middle with the guest on the side and my other reps that I've engaged to help me with my guests. And here's the way I sit. I'll sit on this one so you can see. So I'll sit. First of all, I never sit back in my chair. I sit forward on the edge of my seat. And so my guest is sitting next to me on the left, and my guest is sitting next to me on the right. We're seeing the presentation, and what I start to do is I prepare, engage, and pre-open my guest. So during the presentation, when different parts of the presentation, it comes up like the health and wealth. Like, which is more important to you, health or wealth? Ooh, this part's good. Tap. Ooh, check this part out. Oh, this part's so cool. Wow, that product's freaking amazing. Oh, let me... And I would engage with my guest like that, creating the energy. The speaker asks a question, and I always sit up front. I never sit in the back. I always sit in the front, no matter what. Because the people in the front always are the more receptive to information. The further back you go, the less information you gather, and the less information you retain. So I always sit in the front with my guests. And so by the end of the presentation, I've engaged. They've gotten used to my flow of energy. You see how it's happening, right? And as they've gotten used to the flow of energy that I have through that engagement, when the speaker says, so by the end of the presentation, we have 3 types of people, A's, B's, C's, clients, B, business, but have questions. And A, all about action. Like, you're all about action, right? Don't worry, here. There's a lot of people here that are going to get started, but here, because you're here with me first, we'll take care of you first. So do you see why I'm so excited? And you see how you can make money? And you want to make money, right? Tap. Turn, tap, talk, right? So, do you have any questions, or are you ready to get started? You see why I'm so excited? They're going to say yes, because remember, I've been engaging, right? Engaging, creating the energy, creating the flow. Do you see why I'm so excited? And I nod my head and I smile. And what are they going to do? Just like what you're doing right now. If you don't believe me, next time you're in your car, you drive up to a traffic light and it's a red light, here's what I want you to do. You stop at the light, make sure you completely stop. Turn to the car to your left or right, whichever way. Make eye contact with the person. Smile and nod. And when they look at you, maybe they look at you like a little funny. Right? They'll do the same back. It's what we humans do. Smile and nod. Do you see how you can make some money? You ready to make some money? So do you have any questions, or are you ready to get started? Right? Perfect. Let me show you how to get started. Go right into enrolling. And as you go right into enrolling, you're carrying the energy of the interaction from the presentation right into the enrollment mode. You say, let's get you enrolled before everybody else because I want to introduce you to the expert. I mean, if you have a chance to just breathe some of the same air that this person's breathing, everything changes. I'm edifying, I'm promoting, I'm positioning. I'm creating urgency. That is advanced enrollment. But it's still basic. Anyone can do that. Anyone can ask 3 yes questions. You could turn, tap, talk. Right? You could smile and nod, right? Yeah. I built a team of thousands of people. We recruited 5,000 people in my first year in New York City using those tactics. Distributors, not customers. 5,000 distributors. Anyone can do it. If you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. Simple? And by the way, if you don't know what to do, you can open up this thing called the training guide, basic training guide, and in the basic training guide, under enrollment, it actually shows how to ask those questions. It lists the questions for you. The only thing it doesn't list in there is, do you have any questions, or are you just ready to get started? That's the only thing it doesn't have in there. That's just something I added for you today. But the other 3 yes questions, they're in there. I gave you an advanced line of questioning. You give the choice of 2. It's like, I don't ask you, do you want to buy a product? I say, which product is better for you? This one or this one? And you're going to tell me which one is better for you. Right? When I do a presentation, in my mind, I'm not there to convince you to do business with me or to buy a product from me. I'm there to show you how to do the most amazing thing ever, and it's just a matter of how big you want it to be. That's what I'm doing in the presentation. So the psychology of the way I talk to you during a presentation sets everything up for you to make an immediate enrollment happen at the end. And if you do that, I can guarantee you, you do 10 presentations per week, your beginning ratio is 3 out of 10. With these techniques that I just taught you and these skills that I just taught you, it automatically doubles to 6 out of 10. And if you do it enough times where it just becomes a part of your way of building the business, you get to 8, 9, and eventually maybe even 10 out of 10. Enrolling. And if you learn how to properly reserve their position, meaning you show them, look, there's a lot of people in the room right now, or there's a lot of people coming in for their business presentation today, and because you're here first, some of these people are going to end up in your team. So instead of them ending up above you in this business, they can end up below you in your team, which would start generating immediate profits for you. Does that make sense? They say, yes. Okay, perfect. And you want to be on top, right? Yes. And do you guys remember when I was talking about the invite training? How to ask yes questions. Yes. Right? And I think Elia maybe recorded that. So if you would like that recording, go talk to Elia and say, hey, can you share the recording with me from Costa Rica? And this is how you leverage each other to build the business. And when you leverage each other to build the business, you're essentially leveraging each other to build each other's businesses. And the good thing about the energy in here, okay, one thing you'll notice is that everyone's energy is pretty wholesome. I don't know if there's a word for that in Spanish, wholesome. Like you have good, genuine, like you genuinely care to do right and to do well. Some people, unfortunately, in this business are very schemy sometimes. Like they just come and their only agenda is just to make a quick buck as fast as they can and then disappear. Okay? For the most part, from what I have experienced in my interaction with you, there's no one in here like that. So when you start helping each other build your businesses and build your teams, your people are going to see that and they're going to be attracted to a strong support system. They like that feeling. They're going to enjoy the process because of that. And so help each other, teach each other, learn from each other, and grow with each other. Am I making sense with that? So they might say at the end of the presentation while enrolling, well, can I enroll tomorrow? Yeah, of course. You're my friend. You can enroll whatever you want. But I just want to let you know that all these people that are going to enroll today after you, they're going to end up on top of you. And I mean, that would really suck because I know some of them are probably going to be big volume producers, which is going to mean a lot of money. So it doesn't matter to me whether you sign up or not, or even when you sign up, because you're my friend. We're friends for life anyway. But if you want my sincere suggestion, I wouldn't want them to be on top of you. I'd rather you be on top. So would it make sense to get started right now? And what do? I nod my head and I smile. And they say, yes, perfect. Okay, so you want to do that by Visa, MasterCard, or American Express? And I give you the choice. That's the enrollment flow. Okay, never once in my mind am I thinking, do they really want to do it? No, everybody wants to make more money. Every millionaire is a millionaire because they're always looking to make their next million. Right? It's not a question of whether they want to make money or we know they're here for a reason. We know they need to and want to make more money. The question is, can I show them how to do it? Can I show them how to build this business? And that's what the presentation will do. And that's what the enrollment flow will do. You guys good? Yes. Now, let's just say in the case for some reason, whatever it is, they don't sign up on the spot. That's when you go into follow-up mode. You see it says follow-up right here. Okay? Follow-up. In our industry, there's a saying, and it goes like this. The fortune is in the follow-up. Now, here's the thing about this. Majority of the time, in many companies, there's not a big leader sitting down and doing a basics training like this with their group. It just doesn't happen. There's no psychology training most of the time like this. So they say, well, fortune is in the follow-up. Most people have to see a business preview, contact, information at least 7 times before they decide to get started. Okay? Now, in a lot of companies, that is true. However, you can take that 7 times and reduce it to 3 or even 2 or on the spot if you apply the strategies I just finished training on. Okay, that information that I shared with you will convert your enrollment ratio from 3 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 to 8 out of 10 because of the way you design the flow. Okay, but let's just say for some reason they become one of those others who need to be followed up on. So here's what happens, okay? The way you follow up is after they leave you and they go home, you can send them a text or a video on social media, a YouTube video of some kind that's an inspirational video of like, hey, I just came across this and it made me think of you. because it reminded me of how you told me you're really serious about blank. And this is in the blank, you fill in whatever their hot button is. Okay? The next day, you have already or should have already scheduled a time for you guys to get together. So from the time that you go through the enrollment flow, you want to schedule an immediate meetup right after that to get them started, either within 24 hours or within 24 hours. Which means what? Within 24 hours. Sometimes they might not be able to do it. Okay, 48 hours. But in the process, you want to be in constant engagement with them. So first thing is you can send them a video that's an inspirational video, and you can say, hey, this reminded me of you when you told me that you're really serious about blank. Whatever the hot button is their blank. Second thing you can do is I was just talking to our team leader about some upcoming things that are going on. It's going to be so crazy. What's your schedule like tomorrow or the day after so we can get connected? Because I got to update you on some stuff. There's a lot of people getting started right now, and I don't want you to get pushed down further in the team. This is how you start following up. Using hot buttons and using positioning are two very simple ways to follow up so that you can keep contact with them, but keep them reminded of what the business is about. Because what happens is our brain works on what is called a folding memory system. Can I get a sheet of paper? Just one piece of paper. Anybody? And the folding memory works like this, okay? Maybe like this too. Actually, yeah, let's use this one instead. And the reason is because when someone sees a presentation, this is what they remember, right? By the end of the presentation, okay? They go home, kids happen, husband happens, wife happens, job happens, whatever it is. You know, everyday life drama, and immediately the information that they retain from the presentation becomes this amount. They forget half already. Okay, they go to sleep, they wake up, more job life stuff happens, there's no follow-up. If there's no follow-up happening, this is what they retain by the end of day 2. Day 3 comes around, more nonsense, life, etc., bullshit. Okay, forgot to pick up some eggs. Now this is what they remember, day 3. Day 4 comes around, and again, if there's no follow-up, this is what they remember by the 4th day. And then by the time the 5th day rolls around, they don't even remember your name. Okay? When you're doing follow-up, here's what's happening. They go home, they've already only remembered this much information, but you remind them with their hot button, and it kind of goes like this. So they fall asleep with this much information. They wake up the next day, and again, you follow up with them at that day, even though by the next day, it could have been like this. But because you followed up with them, it retains at this. You get together with them and you have a conversation with them, another coffee meeting with them, and it goes back to this. Where do you think you have the best chance of enrolling them? When they have this much information or when they have this much information? Right? That's why the fortune is in the follow-up. It allows you to, even if they don't get started on the spot. Oh, the reason I decided to use this, by the way, is because some people's brains are already like this. Oh, man. We are recording this, by the way. If you would like this recording, hit a rank. Maybe we'll just give it to everybody anyways. What is enrolling? Let's understand what this is. When you enroll somebody, you're helping them understand that all it takes for them to unlock their potential in their life, unlock success in their life, is one decision, one step. You guys heard the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? Okay. There's also saying if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same thing. So if they've shared with you their hot buttons, what their pain points are, what they're looking to achieve, what they want to change in their life, this is your way of helping them transition from being stuck to activating success. And that's what you're doing during the enrollment flow. Okay, when you're doing the enrollment flow, you're reminding them, hey, all it takes is the first chance. And you heard me say at the end of the presentation today, if you trust 1%, the other 99% will be earned. That is actually something that I say at the end of every presentation during every enrollment. I've been saying that for 20 years. Because I know if someone enrolls and works with me, I'm going to position them to win. Okay? Now, enrolling, see it says, first thing to do at the end of the presentation. I watched today, at the end of the presentation, some people got up, went to the bathroom, did this, did that, whatever it is, started looking around for a piece of paper, started looking for enrollment forms. You kill the energy right away. Immediately, your chances of enrollment goes from up here to like right here. Okay? You want to show them professional, knowledgeable, business-minded activity. That's your focus. So what ends up happening is by the end of the presentation, what I used to do, let me use your notebook, is I would have my enrollment forms at the back, not even folded up. I would just have them in, just like this. She has it here. See, that's why she has a team. I would have them in the back. And so by the end of the presentation, when I do the turn, tap, talk, I've already flipped to it, and I already have it out ready to fill out. And I have several. And so I also have my previously filled out forms, which have the payment information on it. So I can show them like, hey, everybody's signing up right now. We got to get you in before everybody else finishes getting in first so that we can position you and reserve your position right away at the top. It creates this expectation, but it also creates the understanding that they're going to lose if they don't move fast. They will lose positioning and they will lose opportunity. Does that make sense? Because that is what happens. That's why a binary is built the way it's built. It's built this way because it's first come, first serve. You're going to get positioned. Now, let's just say you're doing one-on-ones and you have like 20 people scheduled. You've seen 3 people so far. 2 have signed up. And you say to the next person that you're doing the presentation with, look, I have already many, many more people that I'm going to see. Some of these people can end up in your team. But here, I already have 2 signed up. If you sign up right now, I'll put them in your team. Right? You flip to the enrollment form. You show them the enrollment forms. Look, here's them. Platinum, 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 platinum. And I always put the platinums at the top. I put all platinums at the top of my enrollment form stack. And like, let me find, we're just team platinum. I was trying to find you a basic because I was going to say maybe if you do basic, then we'll at least put a basic. But everybody's platinum. So if you want to make money, I'll show you how to do it. Right? You're creating this environment of business, fast-paced, growth. So all the things that you're doing is building these new synapses, remember? Building these new synapses so that you can flow them from presentation to enrollment to fast start training. And when you flow them from one step to the other and they're in fast start training with you now, what's happening is you're positioning them for immediate activity and immediate action. That means immediate team building. Now, some people are like, well, can I get the products first? And this is why I always had a couple of platinums of products on me. So when they start, they don't have to wait for the package to arrive through shipping to them. They get the package from me and I have their package shipped to me. It just every little bit accelerates your growth. And it's up to you how you want to do it. I'm just showing you how I did it. Does that make sense? Nothing is more important than the sign up because you don't want to let them lose the positioning. Especially after you just spent 20 minutes getting them excited about how fast this thing can grow and showing them 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, right? It makes sense. And when it makes sense, it makes money. You guys good? Okay. Now, You want to build a team, you want to build leaders, you want to have growth, you want to have big incomes, you got to understand what duplication is. This is the part where a lot of people miss as their team starts to grow. And I'm sharing this with you now because your team, after today, is actually going to start to grow. I don't think you realize what has happened in your mind yet, and you might not realize it until next week. Or maybe let me ask you, when you came into the event today, okay, you were thinking a certain way, right? You had a certain kind of feeling, you had a certain kind of thinking, you had a certain focus, you had a certain perspective. But I can guarantee, based on the looks of your faces, that now everything has become a little different. Your focus, your thinking, your expectations, your level of understanding has shifted between this morning and right now. True or not true? All of these shifts are going to directly translate into team growth as you start taking action. Because here's what's happened. In the normal way of doing things, the expert comes in, does the presentation, does the training, and trains only one person. And let's just say John comes in, he learns what he needs to learn, and by the time John has learned from the expert, he retains 50% of the information, because that's just how most people's brains function. Okay? Then John comes in and wants to train his new recruit, Tom. And Tom, again, has the same effect. He retains only half of the information, so he actually only has 25% of the original information. Then Tom does the same thing, and you are only now 3 levels into first order bonuses. Maria comes in, she's like all kinds of excited. She's like, yeah, I want to build a big team. And then she learns how to invite by, mira, órale, tengo este producto, tengo este negocio, vamos, ingrésate, right? She has 12.5% of the original information. Maria's all kinds of excited. She gets really lucky because you could do the worst presentation in your life and still get a sign up. So her friend Jackie signs up. Her friend's all kinds of excited. Maria does the training for Jackie, and Jackie's like, ¿Qué está pasando? Like all kinds of confused. It doesn't even matter, but she's kind of excited because she heard about the expert, and she gets only 6% of the information. Who trains Ding Dong over here? Ding Dong is just as excited because Jack is excited, but Ding Dong has no idea why they're excited. They just know that there's excitement. Right? And then Ding Dong comes in and trains you, and here's the percentage of information that you are working with, because that's how the chain works. Right? You're going to train your guy, and poor this guy over here is like, I don't know what to do. So they sign up, they never come back. Who's had that happen? They sign up and maybe show up one time, and then you never see them again. Because you are over here. So how do you avoid this? Train together in one system. The idea of training calls is so that everybody learns from the expert at the same time. Imagine if your whole team today, everybody that was in the room this morning, 100 people learns the information that we just talked about so far. Unfortunately, we can't make it that easy for them. Because if I have to focus on the 100 different people, the energy changes, the environment changes, what I say changes, and it's not as effective. So I focus on the top 20. And that's why you guys are here and some of the people in your team are not, right? Because I can do all of this information sharing, but if you haven't done the work to process the way the information relates to the activity, it doesn't help you. It's all theory. It's like me telling you how riding a bicycle feels, and you've never, ever touched a pedal with your foot before. It might sound interesting, but until you hop on a bike and maybe you fall off of a bike once or twice, you won't understand it. Same concept. So now here you plug in together expert, John, Tom, you all attend the same training. You're getting 100% of the information every single time because the delivery of the expert in this example becomes very different. The environment is different. The engagement is different. It's called group mind effect. It's a psychological thing that happens, but that's why events are so amazing. You guys understand? You sure? I already talked about this. This is how you enroll. When you go through the enrollment process, there's certain techniques that you can use on the process of filling out the enrollment form. How do you want your name spelled on your Ultrra Visa pay card? Okay. Has anyone seen this before? Who has not seen these questions before? Raise your hand if you have not seen them. Wow. Okay, I can only imagine how you do enrollment. And you got to this point not knowing how to do enrollment. Nice. This allows you to start. You ever had somebody sign up and then they just kind of don't do anything? And you wonder why they don't get into immediate activity? Because there's a missing picture in their mind about the next step. So what you do here is you say, how do you want your name spelled on your Ultrra Visa pay card? So in their mind, they're picturing their Ultrra Visa pay card, they're picturing their name on it, picturing receiving a commission. It agitates the synapses to say, hey, I want to make my bonus right away. Okay, what address do you want your Ultrra pay card sent to? My house or yours? Okay, I say it like that because it's a joke to me, but sometimes it works. Sometimes they say, oh, your house. I was just kidding. Okay, but again, you want them to imagine receiving the pay card so that they can take it out of the envelope and use it to spend. We can put your name as your initials, your username, followed by the word corp. It's your business name. And I use this specifically because corporation, incorporation, people understand it's related to business. Like they're launching a business. I want them to feel the launch of the business, the establishment of the business, right? Password will keep it simple so no one knows it except you or me. Then I'll show you how to enter your virtual office and change your password. That line is key. Then I will show you how to enter your virtual office and change your password so that only you know it. What it's doing is, again, is reiterating that I'm going to take the next step with you. It's positioning them subconsciously for the next step. That's why they come back and take the next step, because you've enrolled them with specific techniques and strategies. This is called positioning to win. But here's what a lot of people do. When a lot of people do the enrollment, they say, okay, how do you want to pay? Okay, congratulations, bienvenidos! But nothing else has happened. It's like, what now? Right? That's how people feel. What now? You've already told them here. The next step is, let's log in and set the whole thing up. Okay, let's get you trained. You position your team members to win. What I like to do is I draw the tree. As we're doing fast start training, you take that contact list and you say, okay, here's your business tree. We are going to position your first two people. And let me tell you why. These first two positions directly below you are the most important positions in your business, because everything you do is going to get them paid. Everything. From here on, from here forward, whoever's here and here, whoever's your left hand, whoever's your right hand. It could be mom, dad, aunt, uncle, nephew, brother, sister, hijo, hija. It doesn't matter. Whoever you put here is going to make money from everything you do. Who do you want to put there? Your best friend or mom? And I'm now having them imagine how they're going to start building the business. That's why I draw the tree. You guys see how this works so far? Share your plan to build, because together we win. That's the strategy of sharing the tree. Say everything we do is going to directly benefit them. And so all these people that are going to come in, as they grow their business, they help you win because you help them win. So we're going to map out a strategy of who is going to be your first 6 people to fill into these slots. And we have very specific strategies on how to double or triple your income using our business system. Don't worry, I'll share that with you as we start building. And I say that to them because, again, what I'm doing is painting the picture for them to take the next step, painting the picture of them growing their business, painting the picture of them growing their team. Everything that I do is a seed being planted so that they can imagine the achievement. You guys okay? After enrollment, immediately fast start. Immediately. You say, so because this positioning is so crucial, most people want to get it done right away. So do you want to make money later, or would you like to make your first check by tomorrow? I let them choose. And I let them choose for a specific reason. If they say, I want to make my first check by tomorrow, perfecto. What's your schedule like for tomorrow at 2 p.m. or 6 p.m.? Which one is free for you? And let them think about the schedule and pick a time, and that's the time that we're going to meet up for the second part of training after Fast Start. And we can also schedule their first 5 people for one of those 2 times. You say, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how I started because it made it very easy for me to launch the business. And I'm pretty sure you want to build a big team, a big business, and I'll show you how to do that. But let's get your first 2 positions filled right away with your key people because we don't want them to lose out and get pushed down. Okay? So we do a list. That's part of the Fast Start training. Who are your top 10 key people? Persons closest to you, best friends, whatever it is. Okay, perfect. Let's call them while we're here right now, and we can get them to come in tomorrow at 2 or 6 p.m., whichever time was better for you. And then when they come in tomorrow and you come in, I'm going to do the presentation for you so you can see how we build this business and how it builds very, very quickly. That's the purpose of Fast Start. That's why it's called Fast Start. Okay, any questions on anything I've covered so far? There's a lot of information, right? Okay, should we stop here? Question? No, there's no such thing.
When you are in front of the audience,
Yep.
do you face them? Or because you was saying that you have somebody sit here, touching and like engaging, so you are not facing them all the time? Or are
Audience, in this example, well, when you're in the audience, your back is to the rest of the audience. You're only engaging with the person on your left, the person on your right. If you have 10 guests and they're seated behind you, then you can also engage a little bit here, a little bit there. Yep. He said, his question was, when you are in the audience, do you have your back to them? Because you can't do turn and tap and talk with everybody. And the answer was what I gave. Okay. If you end up having 10 guests, then you can strategically place them. I always place the guests with the most potential right on my left, right on my right. Okay. So any other questions on this? It's a lot of information, but I don't have a lot of time with you guys. On the 19th, I fly back to Asia. And I think our next event that I'm being invited to is in Mérida, from what I know. Okay? So if it's in Mérida and you happen to be there, great. If not, you better run. So when I come back to do the Mérida event and we schedule it for Mérida, then you can also schedule one in your area and I'll hop from Mérida to your event as well. Okay, I will only have time for maybe 2 to 3 events when I do that. So if you want to host one in your area, then you can talk to your upline leaders and we can schedule something. So let me show you how leverage works, okay? I want you to understand the nature of the business and why the business allows you to grow and build the income that we talked about earlier. If you look at a typical structure of a company, this is how it works, right? You have the corporation at the top. In the corporation, you have the president, vice president, executives, admins, employees, and there's still the reaching of the client base, right? In this situation, you have just a lot of hard work. A lot of people working really hard, but there's a ceiling. There's a limit on what they're going to make, how far up they can progress. The guy down here is most likely never going to be up here. That happens once in 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000. Never. Maybe here. And that's like still 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000. Okay? What you're doing in our system is essentially this structure. But your president, vice presidents are here. And then they essentially are the same as you. Their presidents and vice presidents are over here. And then these guys have their own presidents and vice presidents over here. It's just a multi-layer of the same structure, because the bigger the organization gets, the higher up you go in your lineage. The deeper the organization, the more leaders. Leaders are essentially your executives, your VPs, your presidents. And you have no limit as to the number of leaders that you can work with. But if you want to build a foundation, a strong foundation of big incomes, the magic number in our industry is 5 key leaders. 5 key leaders that you've developed and sponsored. Okay, to find those 5 key leaders, you just got to go through some numbers. In the beginning, you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. If your ratio is signing up 3 out of 10, then of those 3, they have to get to around 10 to find 1. So you have to have 10 total personal enrollments to find 1 potential key leader. Okay, you want to find 5? 50 personal enrollments. That's how the numbers work. Now, sometimes you get lucky. You're like, hey, I've signed up 100 and I've gotten 20. Okay, great. It works that way too sometimes. But this is the basic foundation. When you have those people as your foundation, you're training them how to do what you do. You're up here, you're sharing with them. You go and do all the things that I talked about. The basic default steps of activity from the beginning. And you do that over and over and over again. They start to grow with you. They become leaders in your organization. That's why they become the foundation. They have their own people who start doing the same thing. They start creating what is called a layer of duplication. And after a layer of duplication, you have a third layer starting to do the same thing. You now have development, and the development really means that these people now know what to do. They're doing it, and they're doing it on their own, interdependently. Remember the chart from earlier, right? From the development, you have another layer who reaches that same stage. You have 4 layers of executives, basically. 4 layers of leaders, and you have now a stable business. Stability means that it's going to grow, but it's going to grow with stability. Because sometimes this person's team will be a little slower, this person's team will be a little faster, this person's team will be slower, this person's team will be faster. But you end up having a balancing effect automatically in your team because of the stability. At the 5th layer is where that stability becomes momentum and lifestyle, because at that point, it doesn't matter. These organizations are so deep. Let's just say of the 5, 2 of them are gigantically producing. That's all you need. That's why lifestyle. Then you just show up to an event and say, hello, ¿cómo están todos, right? Lifestyle. And anyone can do that, okay? How do you get to this duplication? It's 3 steps. First step is, I do, you watch. I do meaning the leader does, while you watch the leader what they do. Today I'm sharing with you the things that I've done because you can't exactly sit there see me doing it. So I'm sharing with you a lot of my stories and how I did what I did. So now you're watching, right? When I'm booking one-on-ones, in the very, very beginning, I was getting my upline schedule and I was trying to pack my upline schedule. If I knew my upline was going to be available, which was not very often, I would pack out the day. That's why I was doing so many invites. In the very, very beginning, the first weekend, my upline was not available. After I did my 44 signups, all of a sudden, my upline leader became available. His name is Johnny. He's like, hey, by the way, if you want me to help you do your business, I can help you. I'm like, really? Why didn't you do it my first weekend? Like, that's when I needed the most help, right? But he realized, as an upline, there's a potential leader in the making. And he was not about to let that new possible leader fail in this business who just brought in 44 people. So that's why he offered to do that. So when he offered, I was like, okay, great. What's your schedule like? Tell me what day you're free. I'm going to pack that day. He gave me a day. I don't remember what day it is. All I remember is I packed that day full of one-on-ones in the Stanford Town Center Mall, in the food court. And it was just one-on-one after one-on-one after one-on-one after one-on-one. And he was just like, I know for sure he was tired by the time he was done with me because he didn't give me another day after that. I didn't care. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. I'll take advantage of everything around me, right? So, but I observed how he did it. I observed how he was doing presentations. I was like, okay. That's when I realized I explained my presentation all wrong to all my friends. It doesn't matter. But then I started doing the presentation right. Okay, so after that, I started doing my own presentations. So you set a goal, and it could be anything. Simple goal could be like getting your first 2. So the person that you just signed up, here, let's focus on helping you get your first 2, like I talked about earlier. That's a starting goal. Okay, then after the first 2, how about your first 6? Unlock the match bonus. The compensation plan is designed to allow you to push for growth in the business without you being the one pushing, because they're going to directly benefit from the efforts that you're putting into the business. Once you help them do that, connect those 6 to the system. And remember, this is all happening as you're launching and you're watching the process. And in this process, your people start watching you do those things, right? They watch you do presentations. They watch you set those people up and attend meetings together, attend trainings together, plug into the system together. I do, you watch. From here, step 2, I do, the leader watches. So after you start being good at taking notes and copying the information, you can start doing, and you can invite your upline leader to critique you. That's why all my leaders ask me, hey, do you have any critiques for the event? Do you have any suggestions on where I can improve? And sometimes, but with me, it's a very like that, you know? They're not going to be so direct with you. They're going to be like, oh, you did so good at this, and you did so good at that. Here's where I would enhance and tweak. And then you're so good at this, though. They're going to sandwich you with positivity. My leaders don't get that from me. My leaders are like, I'm going to kill you. Fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this. Because they understand now, this is how we can save time, and their feelings are not going to get hurt. They know my intention is not to hurt their feelings. They know my intention is, let's improve really, really fast. Okay? So, step 2, I do, the leader watches. Now you have a little bit of experience, you've been doing, and people know where you can improve on, what you can tweak on. And you just keep doing it. Number 3, leader duplicates. Meaning that you can start doing it without having somebody there with you as you're doing it. Question?
Una pregunta. Justo en el paso 2, yo personalmente creo que y con mis situaciones, del paso 2, no sé si es por pena, pero me cuesta mucho que dicen, yo ya lo hice y yo no veo cómo lo hacen. Entonces, ¿qué sugerencia me puede dar?
Perfect question. Everybody heard her? You don't need to hear. Everyone else heard. Yeah, Gonzalo didn't hear you. Here, speaking to the...
Le preguntaba a Alex que en el paso número 2, a mí me costaba mucho, bueno, o sea, situaciones que me han pasado en mi equipo, no sé si es por pena, pero miembros de mi equipo, yo sé que lo hacen y yo sé que de seguro lo hacen muy bien, pero por 20 razones no puedo verlos. Entonces no sé cómo a lo mejor ayudar o ajustar o apoyar porque no los veo.
Okay, good. So, you remember in Costa Rica when I was sitting down and I was like, invite me. That's how you do it. If you cannot be there to walk through the system with them, that's one way to do it. Second way I would do it is what we call special weeks. Who's done a special week so far? Okay, that is the name of it. So the fact that you don't recognize the name means that you haven't done it. A special week is where you can request for a leader to come to your area or your city for 1 week to run with you, to build with you, to do presentations with you, to watch how you're doing things so that they can help you grow and critique you, okay? So if you talk to your upline leader, you say, hey, can we schedule a special week? They'll take the time out of their week to go spend that week with you. You just need to make sure you pack out the appointments, book massive number of presentations, do a lot of invitations so that they can guide you throughout that week. So my teams would always fly me in. They're like, hey, we've reserved a hotel for you, can we fly you in to do these kinds of things with you. And that's how you can do special weeks. So depending on the stage that your team is in, that's 2 ways that you can do that. Third way is through what we call PCs, personal consultations. So when I do PCs with people, we go over the ratios in the business. And the reason this running list, you guys know what the running list is, right? Daily Activity Manager? Yep. Yep. The Daily Activity Manager allows you to calculate your ratios. And when you calculate your ratios, I can take one look at it and I know exactly where in the business you need help. That's the purpose of the Daily Activity Manager. So you can do that and then schedule a PC. And then during the PC, you do the same exact thing. Like, okay, I can see your enrollment ratios are a little low. Let's go through the enrollment process. Enroll me right now. Boom, we just finished a presentation, enroll me. And you watch how they turn tap talk. You watch the type of questions that they ask. This is part of the development process in the business. Okay? Answer your question? Okay, perfect. All right, everybody knows how to duplicate now, right? It's a very simple process to be able to do that. And as long as you understand that, then you can build a very, very powerful team. Now, as you're building a powerful team, you start doing events like this. Right? And you start having a lot of people at these events. You want to use these events to your advantage. First things first, here are quick tips. You notice how I'm dressed today, right? I don't have to dress like this. I'm the CEO. I can show up in a t-shirt and jeans and be like, I'm the tech CEO. That's how they dress, right? There's a reason I dress this way. First of all, the impression that's made on your guests for the first time is dramatically different than some dude showing up in a t-shirt and jeans, right? So dress for success. That's the first key thing. And when you dress for success, it doesn't mean that you have to wear a suit and tie. You can if you want to, but at least jacket, slacks, dress shoes, no sneakers, right? Women, I think all the women in here have dressed to the nines. You're good. If you don't know how to dress in semi-formal, sexy attire and you need tips, I'm sure a lot of the ladies in here know how to do it. I also do specialized women's trainings where women only attend, and I train on these things as well. And if you would like to organize something like that, talk to the women leaders and say we would like to organize something like that. You can invite me. I'll come and I'll share with you all the tips on how to do exactly that, right? So business women have a certain thing that they can do to increase their results in the business. Men have a certain thing they can do to increase their results in the business. But the basic of it is dress for success. Dress to impress. You have one chance to make an impression. So you want to make that impression the right way the first time around. And that doesn't mean you have to wear exotic Italian goods, okay? I just prefer to wear these things because it's my style, okay? As long as you look decent, you're good to go. When you come to the event, okay, you want to usually arrive to the event with at least one of your guests who you've invited. You want to walk into the event together because you're creating the energy. You're creating the synergy. You're creating the expectation. You're talking about their hot buttons. You're positioning them so you can introduce them to certain people. Now, when you see other leaders walk into the event, I would take my guests and I would walk and be like, oh, I would point people out. Like, oh, I would edify. Remember edification and promotion, right? You want to start stacking edification on top of each other so that your friend feels like, man, I am with the right person. Especially when you can show you know and are connected to success. If they're your friend, chances are they will not look at you as a leader yet. Okay, they're going to look at you as a friend who is just like them. Maybe there's a friendship respect, but there's not a business or an entrepreneur respect, right? So how do you gain that respect? And you gain that respect by leveraging events like this, by dressing the part. So when your friend shows up, they can also look the part, tell them to dress sexy, right? And all of a sudden people are walking into the event and it's like a model show. Everybody looks good. Everybody's like clean cut. It looks very different than the normal you find in Mexico. Am I making sense with this? So that already sets you apart, and it also positions their way of thinking. They feel like their life is already elevating. And that feeling is contagious. That's what dressing for success does. When you arrive to the event with your friend and you start introducing them to key leaders, and you're edifying key leaders. So for example, I walk in with my friend and I see Danny. I'm like, oh my God, wow, we're so lucky. We just, see that person right there? Her name is Miss Vasquez, Señorita Vasquez, like whatever, however you would say it. And Señor, oh yeah, because you married, right? It's okay, they don't need to know, Señorita, right? So I start edifying Señora Vasquez. And I'll tell you, and in the company, there are these top ranks called star ranks. Don't worry about it right now. Just know that she's a top 2 star. It's not even 1 star. It's top 2 star. And all they hear is star, 2, top, orale, right? It sets the feeling for them. And then if I have done my work and in my past interaction with Danny, I have befriended her, she knows I'm about to walk up to her and be like, hey, you know what? At the beginning of the event, I'm going to introduce you. Because if you can breathe the same air she breathes, I mean, you're going to see for all the success she's able to create, she's got one of the fastest growing teams in the entire company. She's highly respected. Everybody knows, like, she's a power businesswoman. And when she knows you're my friend, she's like, we're good. We're super connected. Here, let me introduce you. And I'll walk up my friend to Miss Vasquez. Right? Now, Miss Vasquez sees me approaching. Like, Miss Vasquez, do you have a minute right now? I just want to introduce my friend to you. And I told my friend that you're a top star. And like, I mean, you have no idea. We're so lucky right now. And I just want to introduce you. He's a really good friend of mine. We've known each other for like 9 years. And he found out about the business. And he's really excited to find out more. But I wanted to have him say hi to you because, you know, you're like one of the top leaders here. So can you just say hello? And I'll push my friend. He's just, here, go talk to her. And I step back, I shut up. I'm like, I say nothing. Like, I'm like a stone. Because what Danny's going to do is she's going to be like, oh, nice to meet you. Wow, you look really sharp. Dress for success. You look really sharp. Make a compliment. She's going to compliment my friend. She's going to make them feel good, make them feel at home. And she's like, oh, so you've known Alex for 9 years? Wow. I bet you don't know who he is in the company though, huh? And she's going to reverse the edification back to me. And my friend's going to be like, huh? This Alex? My friend Alex is Mr. OG here? Wow. Right? And you cycle the edification back and forth. So key. So key. By the end of the event, my friend feels like he knows he is with the right person. There's no question about whether they're going to sign up or not. The question is, what are they going to do after they sign up? How fast can they get connected like I'm connected? Be early. Everybody here is pretty much early, so you're good on that. But the earlier you are, the closer to the front you can sit. Okay? That doesn't mean show up 5 hours early. Okay, don't do that. Because I used to have, I would have events where it's 500, 600 people, 1,000 people event. And people would camp out 6 hours before the event starts to make sure they get front seats. Don't do that. That's just a little extreme and just there's no need. Show up 15, 20 minutes early, 30 minutes early, maybe an hour early, sit at the cafe, come, get lined up, and you're going to have registration forms where you sign in, get a thing, right? Get signed in and make sure that you are early so that you can get to the front seats. And then what I would do is while I'm waiting outside to get into the event, I would talk to my friend. You guys know how teams do plays like, okay, here, so watch. When we go inside to the room, here's what's going to happen. The door's going to be right here. We're going to be standing right here. They're going to open the doors. And then there's going to be people right here telling us where to go. When we go in, we're going to walk really fast to the front of the room because we want to get these front seats. These are called the money seats. Every single person who gets into one of those seats gets direct connection to the top of the company. I want to set you up to win. So we got to walk fast, okay? And I position my friend to properly expect these things. Everything I'm doing is positioning their mentality to get connected to the top. I'm showing them I know how to play the game. And if you work with me, I'm going to teach you everything I know and we're going to win together. That is the feeling that's being created with this type of interaction. Am I making sense with that? Okay. Introduce correctly. I already showed you how to do that when I introduced my friend to Danny. Share your experience. That's when you can Maybe if you have a good relationship, like you coordinate a lot or you work closely with your upline leader that you're introducing, you can share your experience of why you have a lot of respect for the person to your friend, okay? Participate during the event. I ask a lot of times, right? Does that make sense, right? Hace sentido, right? Or I ask questions. You want to be participating because the more engaged you are with the event, the more engaged your friend is with the event, the more engaged your friend is with you. And then enroll right away. When you enroll, 3 T's, turn, tap, talk, and then fast start. That is proper conduct. And whoever does this kind of conduct, you already know how that goes, okay? That's why the business builds. And with that, that is the basic system. And that's all you need to do. Now, I gave you a lot of information. And I gave you basically 20 years of information in, 3 hours? 3.5 hours. So what this means is, at the end of the day, if you want to build your team, just do the default steps of activity. Everything else I've shared with you, you'll gradually learn. It won't matter to do the other stuff if you're not doing the 6 basic steps, the default steps of activity. And the reason is because as your team is starting to grow, your brand new person is going to come in, and if they don't know what to do next, it's going to cause a slowdown. But if you have a system, you're creating a system to work for you, where no matter what, you always know what to do next. Your team always knows what to do next. They know, if I'm not networking, I'm inviting. If I'm not inviting, I am presenting. If I'm not presenting, I am enrolling. If I'm not enrolling, I am training. If I'm not training, I'm back to networking, to duplicate. If they know these are the basic steps and that's all you're doing every single day, you're going to have explosive growth. Those weekly averages that I shared with you are no-brainer. Very simple to build up to. For you to get to 20 people on your team, to get to 50 people on your team, to get to 100 people on your team, let me show you how it happened for me when I started building my team. And some of you guys know the story because you've heard it before. I started and I had no one in my team because they all quit. All of them. I had, by the end of my first year, 1 person active in my team. My first year in this business. 1 person active. After all of the people that I signed up. Now, there's 2 reasons for that. One is I was not a good leader when I first started building my team. I didn't know how to be a leader. I knew how to do sales because that's the corporate background that I had. But I didn't know how to be a leader. And the company didn't have leadership training. So it took me a while to learn leadership development. And the company didn't have any product. So we had nothing to sell. We were selling enrollments. Your username, whatever your username followed by the word corp or Inc. is, that's what we were selling. Because the company told me, build the team and the product will come. And I said, okay, give me a chance and I'm going to build a team. That's my way of thinking. Like, I never blame company or whatever. So it took me a while to retain enough people. But here's what happened. In going into my 2nd year in the company, even though I only had 1 person, and by the way, the person that was active was my ex-girlfriend, who was only coming to events because she wanted to be my girlfriend again. She had no interest in the business. She had more interest in me than anything else, okay? So that's how I started building my team. And at that time, the company said, well, and I was in Connecticut at the time. If you guys know the layout of the United States, it's Upper East Coast. And the company said, well, we want to expand to New York. Who wants to go to New York? And I was like, okay, I'll go to New York. I don't know anybody in New York, but I'll go. You're expanding. I'm always going to be first no matter what I do. I'm going to build. I'm aggressive. I'm ambitious, right? I don't care if I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. That's my way of thinking. So when the company said, hey, we want to expand to New York, I said, okay, I go. And I'm taking the train 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes back every single day just to be able to build my team in New York. And that's how I found my first 2 distributors in New York. And when I found my first 2 distributors, I signed them up. And I was not perfect in leadership, but I was good at the basics of the business. And then I started knowing how to cast the vision. I started understanding how to show, hey, this is the beginning of the beginning. And although right now there's 3 of us, let's go. And 3 became 5. And then 5 became 7. 7 became 9. Then we became 11. And we were 11 like 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Then we grew a little bit more. We had an event when we hit 13 in Ohio, which is halfway across the United States. And on this trip, we took a bus together in the middle of winter to go meet the founder of that company. And then in the middle of the trip, the bus broke down. In the middle of winter. It's below 0 degrees outside in Ohio. And they're like, it's going to take 4 hours for our replacement bus to come. So we're sitting in the freezing cold because the bus broke down, had no heat. For 4 hours, we're like this, right? And that's all. There's 50 people on the bus, 13 of them my team. So we sat in the middle of the bus. So I gathered my team and I started to do training in org in the middle of this breakdown. So all the other teams are listening to us. I'm like, doesn't matter. We're going to hit this event. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to build it. We got to the event finally. We came back from that event. From 13, we went to 19. And then we went to 19 again. We were doing home meetings at this time. From 19, we went to 25. And everybody's like, oh, we're growing. I'm like, guys, look, this room started with 3. And now we have 25. We're about to go crazy. If everybody does 2 between this week and next week to our next event, we could do 50. And that's exactly what we did. Everybody did 2. And we went from 25 people to 50 people in the room. And it was a house in New York, Brooklyn, New York, if you guys know where that is. And the house is not that big, so you can imagine trying to fit 50 people in here. The living room was like from this wall to that pillar to like right here. And we're trying to fit 50 people with a dining room, a couch, a big TV, a dresser here. The stairs are over here. And so people are in the house and they're sitting on the stairs all the way to the top. Some are sitting on the floor. Some are sitting on the tables, on the back of the couch. Some are sitting on each other. 50 people. And I walked in and I was like, guys, look at this. This room started with 3. Last week we were 25. This week we're 50. We're about to break the freaking system. We need to grow. They're like, yeah, we do. I said, okay, if you guys want to grow, I'll get a hotel next week if you want to do a hotel event next week. They're like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, no, but hotel's expensive. I got to pay for a ballroom. I'm not going to ask you guys for any money. I'll pay for the first event myself. If you tell me you want to grow. They're like, yeah, we're going to grow. I'm like, are you sure? Because to go from 50 to 100, no team has ever done that before. All these other teams, they're like, this is team small. They're not even talking about us. They're like, who is this little rinky-dinky new team? This new leader? Who is this? Who is this guy who thinks he's a leader now? Got some people in his team. That's what they're saying about us, guys. They're like, they can't grow. Oh, it's just temporary. That's what they're thinking. Are we going to prove them right or wrong? Right? Competition, right? Oh, we're going to do it. All right, you sure? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to call tomorrow. I'm going to book a hotel room tomorrow. 100 people. Everybody going to do 2? If everybody does 2, we can go from 50 to 100. You want to do it? Yeah. Okay, good. Book the hotel. And that following week, we hit 100. And that's when all hell broke loose. My team went on fire. We went from 100 to 300 to 500. Company events would be done on a weekly basis at a big hotel in the middle of Manhattan, New York City. And when my team shows up to this event, the company will have 500-600 people, and 300 to 400 will be my team. 70% of the event was my team. How did it start? 3 people. Where did it start? Home event. And definitely your houses here are way bigger than New York houses. Way bigger. Not even a question. If we can do it in New York, you can definitely do it here. If we could do it in a company that had no real product, you could definitely do it here. If we could do it in a company that had a bad compensation plan, 1 bonus payout, you could definitely do it here. All it takes is understanding what I just talked about today. Default, basic steps of activity. Simple? Can we do it?
Yes.
Will we do it? You sure? Orale? Okay, so with that said, I know we have a scheduled dinner for later. I'll be here for a few questions after this. We are done for the day. You know what to do. You know how to do it. Take the information. Don't try to apply everything at the same time. Apply one thing that stood out to you, but make sure, aside from that, you're doing the basic steps. If you haven't learned how to invite and enroll yet, you can practice with someone in the team, with a leader, with an upline, and have them help you to get better at building those skills. Sound good?
Yes.
With that said, my time's up. Thanks for yours. See you guys next time.